Hey everybody, Shane here, Shoebox Legends. Thanks for joining me for part one of my top 100 cards countdown. I am really excited to get to this 4-part series. Gonna do 25 cards per video. Been spending a ton of time behind the scenes here, just thinking and brainstorming and pulling cards and moving them up the list and down the list. And I enjoy doing this activity so much. This is my 3rd iteration. I like to do this every year or two, just because it gives me great perspective on what cards matter the most to me across the vast collection that I've built over the last 18 years, and conversely, which maybe don't matter as much and might be something that I could trade or sell to move into some cards that do matter more to me. And it's been a really rewarding process, and I think anything you can do to spend time with your existing collection, enjoying it, versus always worrying about what comes next, is time well spent here in the hobby. So we're going to get right to it here with numbers 100 through number 76 today. Just a couple of really quick, interesting stats before we start. There are 39 new cards in the list here out of 100 from the last time that I did this, which I think was about 15 or 16 months ago. So a lot of churn. I've sold and bought a lot of new cards, showing some great stuff on the channel. And so even if you've seen prior countdowns, I'm pretty confident this is my best one yet as my collection continues to mature and grow. As far as the breakdown, there are 74 baseball cards. So I'm primarily a baseball and hockey collector, in case you didn't know that. 74 baseball, 20 hockey. So 94% of this countdown is comprised of those two sports. And then there are a handful of others because, of course, I have shotgun-like focus. And then lastly, before we get into it, I collect both vintage and modern cards. So I looked at the list, and if you use like 1980 and earlier, let's say as the definition of vintage and pre-war, and 1981 and newer as a brief, definition for modern, it's almost 50-50. I've got 47 cards on the list that are 80 or older, and 53 that are 1981 or newer. Cards going all the way back to the 1880s, and cards as new as, having been released in the last, say, 6 months. So that's pretty amazing. I grew up during the rookie card era, so there are 28 rookie cards on the checklist, but 72 non-rookie cards. So that the rookie card is not necessarily king in my collection. So with all that out of the way, and I will not have as long an intro, I promise, on the next 3 segments. Thank you for sticking with me. Let's get to it with card number 100. This comes from the 2013 Topps Baseball release. It is the short print image variation of David Ortiz, giving the infamous speech that he gave to the Fenway faithful in the wake of the Boston Marathon bombing. And as someone who has lived in New England my whole life and has worked in Boston for a few decades now, this was an event that's definitely fresh in my mind, even all these years later. I love that we got this short print to pay tribute to it. It was a very memorable speech by Big Papi. And aside from all that, I just love the American flag in the background here. Of course, baseball is America's pastime. I love the ties between our country and that great game, and it just seemed like a very fitting card to kick off the countdown at number 100. That is one that was not on the countdowns previously, so brand new entrant there. And I may stop for some hydration breaks as we get going here, but we'll see how it goes. Next up at number 99, got our first hockey card, the great Marcel Dionne. And this is his rookie card from 1971 O-Pee-Chee hockey. Now this is cool because back in the 70s, we did get O-Pee-Chee and Topps hockey sets, but his rookie is only in the O-Pee-Chee release. So this is really his only true rookie card. If you don't know who this gentleman is, he is still, to this day, all these decades later, the number 5 career goal scorer in NHL history. So as Alex Ovechkin surpasses Wayne Gretzky here, and we see all the media coverage and hype that rightfully surrounds that record, keep in mind that Marcel Dionne is still number 5 on that list, which is pretty cool. All right, number 98 presents our first vintage baseball card, and this is the 1951 Topps Redback Yogi Berra. And the obvious reason why I chose this one to make the countdown, I do have other Berra cards that I like probably as much as this one, but I like cards that represent significant feats and significant changes in the hobby itself. And of course, this is infamous as being the very first Topps baseball card. The 1951 release is the first ever Topps baseball set. I know many reference 52, but these came first. I know they're game cards, but these are the first Topps baseball cards. Yogi is number one on the checklist, and so he is number one on the overall Topps all-time baseball card checklist. And for a variety of other reasons, this is a great card as well. But that is the main reason that I've included this one on the countdown, all the way down at number 98. And that is a new addition as well. That was not on the countdown last time. Coming in at number 97, this one might be questionable, or we'll see. I may get a little grief. I would love to hear your feedback in the comments about all of these cards. But again, these are not based on monetary value. I'm not using Card Ladder. Sure, there are going to be some expensive cards in this countdown, especially as we get towards the top, but they're really just here because I like them. So there are cards included here that you can get even today for probably $50 or less. And this, I think, is an example of one of those, and it's the lone golf card that is going to make the countdown, the infamous 2001 Upper Deck Tiger Woods rookie card. And I have this in here, largely because I was a rabid kid sports fan throughout the 1990s, the heyday of the Sports Center era, and this guy was larger than life. I didn't even follow the game of golf, and I don't really even too much to this day, but this guy transcended the sport, became a cultural icon. Everybody knows the name Tiger Woods. I know he's had some controversy, of course, in recent years, but to me, if I could have one golf card in my entire collection, and again, monetary value aside here, just in terms of significance, this is the one that I would want. This is the one that kind of ties me to my childhood and a lot of memories that I had of watching his highlights and his unbelievable play throughout the 90s. So the 2001 Upper Deck Golf Tiger Woods. I happen to have a graded version, but they made 1 million of these. They are not expensive. Graded or not, you do not need to spend much money to pick one of those rookie cards up. So golf fans, I will let you know now in case you want to tune out, we will not see another golf card as the countdown progresses. Tiger is it. Next up, at number 96, we're going all the way back to the 1930s now, a set that I know many people adore, the 1934 through 36 Diamond Stars. This is the Al Lopez. And in past countdowns, I've had other Diamond Stars cards. I've sold some of them off. I'm never going to complete the whole set, but this is a relatively new acquisition. I bought this a little bit over a year ago from Don Field of Dreams Cards here on YouTube. He put out the call that he was getting rid of or looking to sell some of his collection to raise up some money, and this is one that he had on his list that really appealed to me. I've always wanted a copy of this card for obvious reasons. Lopez, I believe, is a Hall of Famer, I'm pretty sure. Was a great manager as well, but for me, this is all about the artwork. I love the yellow sky, the beautiful colors, the catcher's mask kind of flying off. I'm a huge fan of just catcher cards in general, especially when they're in their full gear. I know a lot of folks share that passion in the hobby. So number 96, Al Lopez, Diamond Stars. In at number 95, we're moving up now to the 1980s. And to me, one of the most iconic baseball cards of the 1980s, the 82 Topps traded Cal Ripken. His first solo Topps card. This one would be higher on the list, except that it doesn't quite carry the same nostalgia to me as his shared rookie card from the regular set, just because as a kid, I never did own this card. I'm thrilled to have one as an adult. Always wanted one when I was a kid collector, but these were not cheap or readily available, and they were really outside my budget, my meager paper route chores budget back at the time. So a beautiful card, a gorgeous Cal Ripken, not the only Cal Ripken that we'll see, and a really important card in the hobby and in the 1980s specifically. Love the back on these as well. So there you go, Cal Ripken. Next up at number 94, we've got the 1962 Topps Mickey Mantle. Going back to vintage baseball again here. There's quite a bit of vintage baseball on the countdown. I do enjoy collecting the golden era. And this, of course, was an MVP year for Mantle as well. So that carries a little bit of extra weight with me. One thing we'll see as we progress through the countdown, I do gravitate towards cards that represent big seasons. I think it's a fun way to collect and kind of go against the grain and do something other than just getting the rookie card for every single player. And so this is a gorgeous Mantle. I really took my time picking this out. and I really have grown to love the 1962 Topps baseball design with that sort of peeling poster off of wood. Just a killer design. When I was a kid, I really didn't enjoy 1962 Topps all that much, but now as an adult, this is one of my favorite designs of the 60s, and one of my favorite designs really in the whole Topps vintage run. So great Mick. In fact, we'll put Mantle up in the background. You know, even going all the way back to when I was a little kid, there's just something really special about a vintage Mickey Mantle baseball card. And that's coming from a Boston Red Sox fan, but just love that Mick. All right, try to pick up the pace here. I tend to gab, but I do want to at least justify or talk for a minute or two about each one of these selections and why they made the list. And next up at number 93, I've got a Mike Trout. I know he's, hopefully, I say this every season, I sound like a broken record. Hopefully this will be the year that he stays healthy and is able to show us what he can do in a full MLB season or close to it. He's got a couple of round trippers already at the time of me filming this, but I picked this card because it's his first Topps Chrome card from 2012, Topps Chrome. So I think it's pretty significant in that respect. I put Trout on my hobby Mount Rushmore, to be honest with you, just because he was like the king of the hobby from, say 2011 through 2020 or so. I know he's had injury problems the last couple of years, but this is a blue refractor numbered to 150. So kind of a sneaky cool Mike Trout there, and I think that is the only Trout we're going to see on the countdown, I believe. All right, we're down to number 92, and we've got a modern baseball card here featuring arguably the greatest player of all time. This is the 2022 Topps Chrome Gilded Collection. This is the Gold Etch Mini Diamond Babe Ruth. These are numbered to 50 copies. This is the first year of Topps Gilded Collection in 2022. The inaugural release features current players, stars and Hall of Famers of old, extremely limited print runs across all cards. Even the base cards are numbered to 99. These look gorgeous. Topps did a fantastic job putting these together. It's become a very popular release, and if the 2025 release calendar follows suit, that'll be the fourth consecutive year of Gilded. I don't see it going away anytime soon. And it's a really fun way to get kind of big, significant cards of players that might otherwise be unaffordable. Someday, I hope to own a 1930s, or a playing era Babe Ruth, but that's going to take a lot of scrimping and saving and trading up. And in the meantime, I can have a relatively tough, really desirable Ruth card in the collection for, not a small fraction of what a card like that would cost. I mean, this when I picked it up was probably around $100. So great Ruth. And I decided to include this just because Gilded has been a big part of my modern hobby in the last few years, especially the inaugural 2022 release. Collected a ton of these, and I do think they're going to do well over time in the hobby as far as popularity. Okay, number 91, we've got the 1940 Castell Wizard of Oz. This is the header card. This was part of like a deck, like a game deck that came together, and after this, all the other cards are scenes from the movie, but this card is the header card that was affixed to the top of the deck, and I fell in love with the artwork when I found this years back. And this is one of the few cards, I really don't do a lot of grading, even though I own a lot of graded cards. And this is one of the few cards on the countdown that I actually bought myself and then sent out for grading. So this was part of maybe my first ever SGC submission. Just loved it. This movie was a big part of my childhood growing up. I watched it a ton of times. I'll still give it a look in the rotation every maybe few years to this day. And I think it's an important piece of American cinematic history. And I love the history of, movies, in the same way that I love the history of sports. And I wanted to include this one. So there's another movie card that we'll see further down the list, believe it or not. But Wizard of Oz comes in at number 91. Okay, number 90. This is a brand new pickup. And this is one of those examples that I was talking about of, these cards don't need to be expensive to make the list. And this is a collision between an important event in the history of sports and an important event in the history of the hobby. It is the 2001 Topps Gold Barry Bonds. Now, this card, I'm going to keep it really brief here because we've still got a few to get to. This is important because 2001 is the year that, for better or worse, he set the single season home run record with 73 bombs. And 2001 is also the year that Topps introduced the Topps Gold Parallel to the flagship set, numbered the year of release. These have become incredibly popular, and they're still widely collected today. And of course, even in 2025, Topps flagship, 25 years later, we still have Topps Gold numbered to 2025. So whenever there's a collision between an important event on the field or on the ice and an important change or a significant event in our hobby, it makes that particular crossroads like just a jackpot for me, and was thrilled to find this. This is a card that I picked up just within the last few months, and I think I paid $30 for this. So just, again, card does not need to be expensive from a monetary perspective to be significant. Okay, card number 89. We've got the great one, Wayne Gretzky. This is his second year card, and it's in the O-Pee-Chee release. Of course, he has a Topps release as well. Topps in this 1980 set had the stupid scratch-off puck design, which always drove me nuts. So a few years back, I made it a point to get his O-Pee-Chee instead. And in fact, I recently sold off my Topps. I don't need them both. This is the copy that I want. Gorgeous copy. What can you say about Gretzky? You guys all know his storied career. And of course, he's been in the news quite a bit lately now that Alex Ovechkin is passing his career goal record, which was really thought to be untouchable. But even though Ovechkin's going to be the new goal king, Gretzky is still the GOAT. I will debate that with anybody all day long. So our first of what will be a few Wayne Gretzky cards here in the countdown. Okay, number 88. We've got our second 1962 Topps wood grain and teammate of Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris. And this is part of the kind of age-old hobby debate, which is when there's a significant feat that takes place, would you rather have the card that came out the year that it happened, or would you rather have the card from the following year that shows the feat on the back in the stats? And of course, this 62 Maris is the card that came out the year after he broke Babe Ruth's hallowed home run record by launching 61 home runs in the year 1961. We do get that in the stat line on the back of the card. It's a little bit dark here, but a really significant 1960s baseball card for that reason. I love the image on this. I spent a lot of time hunting down the version that was right for me. It happens to be in a PSA 6. That's irrelevant. I just love the look of it, and how fantastic does it look to have Maris and Mantle kind of side by side from that summer, when of course, until injury took him out of it, towards the end, Mantle was involved in that battle as well, right alongside Maris. Next up at number 87, we have what I think is our only basketball card in the entire countdown. And this one's going to be a little bit tough to fit in frame here, but it is the 1970 Topps Wilt Chamberlain, the Tall Boy issue, the second year in a row that Topps did the Tall Boys. This was number 85 on the last countdown, and here it slides down just 2 spots, which is really not too bad. It's probably in the top 5 as far as significant basketball cards in my pretty small, sad basketball card collection. Again, like I said in the intro, I really focus on baseball and hockey, but this is an athlete who I think deserves representation. I love the way this card looks. Someday I could see this falling off the countdown and maybe being replaced if I can get a better Wilt Chamberlain, or one that I just like more for another reason. But I think tall boy cards are particularly appropriate for basketball for obvious reasons, and pumped to have this one. I picked it up many years ago, just kind of on a whim. I think I had sold a card, had a little extra funds around, and this card just spoke to me, and I have never regretted it since. And even though it's definitely kind of an outlier as far as subject matter and being a strict fit for my collection, here we are finding it within the top 100 regardless. So a little bit of variety. Never hurt anybody. The spice of life. At number 86, following that Wilt, we've got a 1950s baseball classic, the 51 Bowman, Roy Campanella. Of course, a fantastic player, somebody who spent time in the Negro Leagues as well. But this one is all about the image. Yes, he won 3 MVPs and all those other great accolades, but this is one of my favorite images on any vintage baseball card. I've wanted one of these for years. Finally picked up my copy a few years back. Looks really good. Again, you'll see a lot of low to mid grades here. I really don't care about the number. I think the reason this one got a 2.5 is there's a little white mark on the backstop there. But I kind of joked with some friends that that's like my 1 of 1, baseball left the mark on the backstop variation of my 51 Campy. I don't think it detracts from the visual appeal whatsoever. And also 1951 Bowman in general is a set that is like really, really, really growing on me. I always, for whatever reason, when I first re-entered the hobby, I gravitated more towards 1950 and 1952. And I think I ignored 51 for a long time just because I was intimidated, which I still am, by the maze and the mantle. But you don't need to collect every card to enjoy some of the cards in the set. So in the last few years, I've really opened up more to 51 Bowman, and you will definitely see more of those coming on the countdown here. All right, number 85, thanks for sticking with me here. We've got the 1987 Topps Tiffany Bo Jackson. And you could be surprised to see this one all the way up on the list and in front of cards like vintage Mickey Mantles and Wilt Chamberlain cards, but this one's largely about nostalgia for me. When I got into the baseball card hobby in the early 90s, 1990 in fact, this was a huge card. He still is to this day, and he really was during his playing career, just a huge monumental force in the hobby, in the baseball card hobby. He's got a great following, even though he's a quote-unquote non-Hall of Famer. Doesn't matter to me. This is not even, I don't think, strictly his rookie card since he's in 1986 Topps Traded. But to me, just like with the 62s, I love the wood grain border 25 years later that Topps gave us in 1987, which I think is not a coincidence. Had to have been a tribute of some sort. And of course, the Future Stars logo was this was a huge deal back in the day. In the pre-internet era, that was how us kids knew who was going to be big and important in the league in the coming year. If you had a Future Stars label on your card, that was a card we all wanted. So Bo Jackson makes the cut at number 85. And that one slid all the way down from number 49 last time around. Obviously, every time I do one of these, it gets harder and harder to make the list or maintain your position. Okay, we got one here that's on the list purely for aesthetic reasons at number 84. And this one has been on prior countdowns as well. It is the T207 Jack Barry. I've researched him in the past. He actually has quite an interesting life story. Not going to get into it today, but what I want to focus on is just the gorgeous look of this card. I learned about this, I think, from my buddy Doug over at Decon or DK Cardboard. He's had a couple different channel names over the years, but shout out to Doug. I found this card or saw this card on his channel a few years back, and instantly I was like, I need a copy of that card. Just the pose that he's in, there's just something absolutely beautiful about this card that is well over 100 years old now. Just gorgeous. And so I set a saved search. Took me probably 2 years before one surfaced that was within my price range and looked like a condition that I would accept. And there we go. So it's remained one of my favorite tobacco cards ever since I picked it up. And I don't see that one going anywhere anytime soon. I just love, love, love that card. Number 83, we got our other film card from the countdown. We saw The Wizard of Oz a little while back. But a movie that, to me, is maybe my all-time favorite franchise, Star Wars. And this card here represents, of course, the scene, the huge, quote-unquote, surprise scene from The Empire Strikes Back, where Darth Vader confirms and reveals to Luke Skywalker that he is indeed his father. And I've talked about this before. Obviously, they can't say it on the front of the card, I am your father, because they didn't want to give away the plot to the movie in the trading card set. They wanted people to go to the theaters and learn that. But if you've seen the film, which I'm sure most of you have, you know this is the card that represents that scene. So to me, that is one of the most important moments in movie history. As far as my personal preference goes, I grew up on Star Wars, absolute Star Wars junkie, still watch the films to this day. I love some of the new stuff that's come out as that universe has kind of expanded. But that original trilogy and this moment in particular, just one of the most significant moments in film from my childhood and my upbringing. So I love having that one included in the countdown. Okay, at number 82 now, we've got Mookie Betts on the 2018 Topps Chrome Gold Refractor, numbered to 50. This is on the list. I mean, first of all, I love gold refractors. I know many do. Numbered to 50 gives you a little bit of that scarcity or chase element when participating in the modern hobby. Something a little more challenging than just getting a base card of this. But more importantly, the reason this is on the list, as I've mentioned, I'm a fan of big seasons, big feats, and 2018, at least to date, and most likely maybe in his career, is going to go down as his best season. He won a batting title, He won an MVP, and he brought a World Series to the city of Boston. He did it all playing for my favorite team, my local team. And I was already a fan of him before that. But after that magical season, Betts, I was all about Mookie Betts. And I've been collecting him for many years. And this is one of my favorite versions of his 2018 card. I've somewhat super collected this card, different parallels and tough versions, just because I love that it represents that incredible season. But I chose the Topps Gold Refractor, numbered to 50, as the card to represent them here on the countdown. So that was number 82. Coming in at number 81, this is a pretty new vintage card. That sounds funny to say, but a vintage card that I acquired only recently, but had wanted for a long time. It is the 1963 Topps, the 62 NL home run leaders. And vintage collectors will instantly recognize and already know that this card is famous because it includes the floating heads of no less than 5 Hall of Famers. This card batted 1,000. Every face on the front is enshrined in Cooperstown. Hank Aaron, Frank Robinson, Willie Mays, Ernie Banks, and Orlando Cepeda. Definitely in the running for most star power ever depicted on the front of a baseball card. And of course, as you'll see with a lot of my vintage, I know it's really become trendy, but this has just been how I've approached the hobby for many years now. I like to go for high eye appeal, well-centered cards. And this card in particular is a bugger to find well-centered. And it took me a long time to get this copy, and I couldn't be happier with it. So I wanted to include this one on the list all the way up at number 81. And that is a new entrant to the countdown this time around. All right, number 80. I expect to get a little bit of slack for this in the comments. And again, if this countdown was based on monetary value, this card would be way, way up there, probably in the top 20. And it's no disrespect to the player. The longer I have this card, I just don't seem to like it as much, or it just doesn't do as much for me as it did when I acquired it. Here we go. The 1940 play ball Joe DiMaggio. I mean, this is a beautiful copy. I love the pennant. I love the photo, the swing here. I'm not trying to talk negatively about my own cards at all. Of course, this made number 80 in the top 100 cards across everything that I have shown here on YouTube. So clearly I do like and appreciate this card. It's just, for whatever reason, it's falling down my list in recent years. And I could even see myself selling this at some point and maybe trying to use the proceeds to get into a different DiMaggio card that just is kind of a better fit or just appeals to me more. But a gorgeous card. Long story, but I essentially flipped a card that I bought in a $2 pack of soccer cards and used the money from that sale many years back to buy this Joe D, which is pretty incredible. So I'm into this for $2 and then some shipping for eBay sales. So yeah, Joe DiMaggio. That is not the only Joe DiMaggio that we'll see on the countdown. There's one other one that is ranked a little bit higher than that. Some of you may know what it is. All right, we're almost done. Thanks for sticking with me. At number 79, we've got another appearance of Mookie Betts. And, cards can make this list for a variety of reasons. Maybe they're iconic cards in the history of the hobby. Maybe they represent a big season or a big feat, a movie that I loved growing up. But in this case, the card makes the list because of the story and the memory that I have of acquiring the card, quite honestly. Sorry for the stutter there. This is my 2014 Topps Update Mookie Betts rookie card. But this is the short print image variation. So just like the David Ortiz that kicked off the countdown, this is a very short printed card featuring Mookie smiling in the dugout. These are hard to come by. They've never been cheap. And if you can believe it, I pulled this card out of a $5 Walgreens repack box. This was before I had a YouTube channel. I did document it on my blog back in the day when I pulled it. It was probably around 2015 or so, if I recall. But I didn't have a chance to get it on video, of course, was not recording or creating content back then, but I will always remember the story and just my pure astonishment when a super short print Mookie Betts rookie spilled out of that box that I bought at the pharmacy that's 2 miles down the street from me. Just unbelievable. All right, number 78, a vintage classic here. One of the most admirable athletes in the history of sports, and probably my overall favorite card of his as well. The 1972 Topps Roberto Clemente. I've said it, plenty of times before, but I love the haunting image here Of course, he would die tragically at the very end of the year that this card was produced. And so once you know that fact and you look at this image, there's just something haunting about it to me. I love the card. Like I said, my favorite, visually speaking, my favorite Clemente card. I'm honored to own it. And just a fun little side note, we saw a card earlier that I acquired from Don's Field of Dreams. This one I actually accidentally acquired from our friend Adam over at Splendid Sports, YouTube Hall of Fame member as of this past year. I won this card on eBay. It came in the mail, and when it did, I recognized the sending address as Adam's because we had communicated and sent each other some stuff before. Hit him up, and sure enough, I had inadvertently purchased Adam's Roberto Clemente from 1972. So kind of a cool personal touch there to a community member that many of you know. Number 77, one of the most important hockey cards in the countdown, and a name that I'm going to guess maybe at least a couple of you watching this may not have heard of before. And this is from the 2008 Upper Deck Masterpieces hockey release. It is the Brushstrokes on-card autograph of the great Willie O'Ree of the Boston Bruins. This is on-card. The texture here of the card is like canvas, and the border is like a raised frame, which really makes this feel like a painting almost. But just a killer on-card auto of a really important name in the history of hockey. He integrated the sport with the Boston Bruins all the way back in the 1950s. I can't get over the irony that the Boston Red Sox were like the last team to integrate, embarrassingly, but the Boston Bruins were the first hockey team to integrate. I just think that's interesting. And O'Ree has gone on to dedicate his entire life to the sport of hockey. He is still with us. He is a class gentleman. He is a name that every sports fan should know for the same reason that they should know Jackie Robinson and Larry Doby, both of whom we'll see further up on this countdown. But Willie O'Ree, just an incredible human being, and was finally inducted into the Hall of Fame a few years back. And I'm glad and grateful that the NHL got that done while he was still alive to celebrate it and enjoy it. And the last card, closing out the first 25 here at number 76 from the 1915 Cracker Jack release, my Charles Wagner card. I bought this a long time ago just because I wanted just a Cracker Jack card. It could be anybody. When I was a kid, these were untouchable, beyond my grasp as far as the hobby goes. And to have one now as an adult, it's just incredible. He actually did lead a pretty interesting life as well. You can look up his bio on like Saber if you're interested. But for me, this is all about the aesthetics of the card. Much like the T207 Jack Barry that we saw, the deep red of those Cracker Jacks, and of course the Red Sox written right across that uniform. Just unbelievable. Since landing this, I have picked up a couple of other Cracker Jacks. This is not my only one, but it's one of the only ones I've shown on the channel. So decided to include it in the countdown. This was number 51 the last time around, but thanks to all the new competition, it slides down here to number 76, but still glad that it made the top 100. Maybe my favorite pre-war set. Pretty certain that it is. So we close it out, 1915 Cracker Jack, Charles Wagner, and that is the end of the first installment of my top 100. Thank you so much if you stuck with me for more than half an hour. This might be my longest episode ever. I'll be back soon with the remaining 3 parts of this countdown. The cards are just going to get better and better and more interesting as we go. I certainly appreciate your support. Get out there and enjoy the hobby, everybody, and I'll be back soon. Take care.